So, and obviously it's been on my mind ever since. So that's going to be our show starter for today. So let's take a breather here. Take a deep breath, everybody, in and out, and let's talk about this game. This one was obviously important. This one is obviously something that we haven't done in a very long time. It's a historic game, and all the graphics and all the storylines were centered around the fact that this doesn't happen very often in Detroit, and that this season for the Detroit Lions is one of history and is one of breaking new ground. So the stakes were noticeably high in this game for Detroit Lions fans, both competitively in the league to get to the Super Bowl, but also historically and emotionally for some fans. And to remind everyone of my take, and I'm going to stay consistent with this not because I don't want to change my mind, but because it's truly what I believe, that coming into this game after we beat the Bucks, it was extra credit at this point. I believed this game to be beyond our expectations, which it was. I don't believe anybody was expecting us to go to the NFC Championship game until, we got later on in the season and it became more realistic. So I don't, that wasn't my expectation. And so the expectation was to win a division and win a playoff game, to at least get those monkeys off the backs of our Lions. We did those. And, after the wild card game, it's like, the matchup between either the Eagles or Tampa Bay is winnable. Maybe we could get to the NFC Championship game. And then we did. And then it's like, well, okay, now we're I was of the house money variety of fans that this was purely extra credit, and this is purely like to just go over the top with this. So those were my feelings coming into the game, especially when it's against the 49ers. Let's be respectful and let's be realistic. The 49ers are a fantastic team. Number one seed for a reason. And one of the, built the strongest, the best roster. You can always argue them and the Ravens throughout the year. They're one of the top teams. And that was our matchup in the NFC Championship game. So, going into it, it can go either way. I made my opinion that this was my preferred matchup over the Packers because all the pressure was on San Francisco. Going back to our extra credit philosophy, it's on them, and we're just collecting extra. It's kind of how the game ended up being. So, let's get into it a little bit. Right after the game, and the final score was 34-31. We already know it. 49ers win. I said after the game, I tweeted this, and I said, the Lions' weaknesses came back to haunt us. Our pass defense and our third quarter droughts. And we created some new weaknesses of our own when we kept dropping passes, key passes. But I am okay with the fourth down instead of tying the game with a field goal. Be who you are, MCDC. We're going to break down the game according to that tweet, according to my tweet. But let's kind of build the story a bit. So we started off so strong in this game. It was remarkable how quickly and dominantly we were able to get the score up against San Francisco in their house. The running game was just unstoppable. It was our identity. We're gonna smash you in the middle with Montgomery, and then a little bit with Gibbs, and we'll shake it up by bringing it outside with Gibbs as well. All of it was working to perfection. You had a Jamison Williams rushing touchdown, 42 yards, breaking tackles like that. That was within the first few minutes of the game. The drive was just 4 minutes, and boom, we're on the board, 7-zip. And then the next drive, the 49ers. They go down, but we stop them to force them to kick a field goal. Their rookie kicker, Jake Moody, alumni of Michigan, noted Lions fan, misses the first field goal. We got a double agent here. 7-zip still. Next drive, David Montgomery touchdown. Drive after that, or maybe a little bit after that, Gibbs gets a touchdown. And we're up 27-0. Or excuse me, that's not true. But we're up by 3 possessions at this point, basically. We even got an interception. Malcolm Rodriguez got an interception. A good one, too. It wasn't like it bobbled and just landed in his hands. He caught that thing. That experience, him playing fullback some of this year, caught a couple passes. Like, the dude's got hands. So, I mean, we're up big. We're up by 17 by the time halftime comes around. We're up by 17. But we had a looming fear. We as in me and me along with the rest of those in my house. We hosted watching the game. We all had this feeling of like, this is fantastic. This is good. There's nothing wrong with a multi-possession lead. But you know how third quarters go. We'll break it down. We'll break it down here right now. So, going back to my philosophy on the game, it was our weaknesses of the pass defense, and it was our weakness in the third quarter that cost us this game. Let's dive into the third quarter, shall we? So, in the third quarter, we're up big. We're up 24-3. San Francisco, they start off, it was 24-7. We were up by 17. So San Francisco, they start off the second half by kicking a field goal. They make it. Score's now 24-10. Then our following drive, we make it all the way down to the Niners' 26-yard line. And, it's definitely within a field goal, but we're the Detroit Lions. We're Dan Campbell's team. We're going to go for it. On 4th and 2, dropped pass. The play would have worked. It was the right call, and it was just dropped. It was devastating. We don't see drops from the Lions like that. We got sure-handed receivers. We catch those things. We've seen Josh Reynolds catch many of those passes, especially in clutch moments like that on 4th down. We've seen him do that. But he drops this one. This would be a theme. More on that later. So then the following drive, the Niners, they get up to their own 45. They're at about midfield. 1st and 10. Heaves the ball downfield. It's Ayuk versus Vildor. No hesitation. He went right at Vildor. And down the field at the 13-yard line, I'm looking at a screenshot of it right now. Overthrown into the, not hands, but face mask of Vildor. And it doesn't just bounce wildly because it's a football and it's an odd shape. No, it bounces perfectly off of his face to be going forward with the same momentum as Ayuk had running forward at the perfect height. He catches it and goes down at the goal line. How does that happen? It was literally a better option to disappear than to have it bounce off of your face and to give the 49ers another touchdown. I'm looking at this screenshot. I just tweeted it so you could go look at me on Twitter to see what I'm talking about. But, dude, it's in his hands. All he has to do is squeeze or touch it or do anything with it. All he needed to do in that play, I'm not asking him to catch this one because I understand that he's not the best corner in the league, and I understand that he's running full speed, falling backwards. It's a tough position. So I'm not asking for a catch. I'm asking for you to do literally anything besides what you did. Literally anything else besides have it bounce off of your face. It's got to be the most embarrassing way for that play to end. It's like, if it bounced on his chest, it would not have, I don't think it would have bounced as high. I don't think the trajectory would have been perfect like it was. But to hit you in the face is the most embarrassing thing you can have as a pass catcher, whether offense or defense. It couldn't be closer to your eyes and therefore your hands. And it still goes through, bounces up, Ayuk catches it, they score another touchdown. The score is now 24-17. The Niners got it within a touchdown because of that freak play. Literally do anything else besides have it bounce off your face. This is all in the third quarter, by the way. All of that I have described is just in the third quarter. So then after that, we have the ball and we fumble it. Coming off of that play, the game's within 7. It's not even like, oh, they stopped us. It was a fumbled handoff exchange. Another thing that never happens. We don't drop passes on fourth down when they're within reach. We don't have balls bounce off our face into the receiver's hands for basically a touchdown. And we don't fumble the ball in an exchange like that. I think we did it once this year, but like, this stuff doesn't happen. And it all happened in the 49ers. It all happened in California. Immediately, the 49ers go and get a touchdown and tie the game. This all happened 12 minutes after halftime. All this happened in 12 minutes. And for the rest of that third quarter, Lions had a drive. They went down the field at about midfield. We have the ball. It's third and long. Guess who's open? Mr. Reynolds. I believe the video just cut out. There we go. We're back on the live stream. He's open. And he's got an opportunity. This one was even cleaner than the fourth down. And he drops that one too. I can't believe how the third quarter unraveled. Because we knew that the third quarter was going to be bad. But to be shut out and had 17 put on you in 12 minutes, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But in those 12 minutes, everything's gone. All the progress you made, all the momentum you had, gone in 12 minutes. Everything is just gone. So that's the third quarter. What else did I say was an issue with this game? It was our pass defense. So let's break it down. So it was just a simple matter. I don't have like a play-by-play like I do of the third quarter, but it was a simple matter of just poor coverage. Listen, we got good safeties. Garner Johnson, Branch, Joseph, Melifonwu. Like, we got a good roster at the safety position. But they don't play corner. And we don't have anybody on the roster, sadly, that could do a better job than the job that was done in this game. We don't have the cornerback room to play in big games like this. It's simply not ready. It's simply not there yet. But there were certain times where, and yes, the 49ers are a big, bulky, tough team, tough to tackle. CMC, Debo, Juszczyk, Kittle, all notoriously hard to tackle. But dude, there were times where, like, can you even like get his shoelaces? Screen passes to Debo. Players are bouncing off of him. He catches the ball and he's standing still, and you still bounce off him. You can't even grab his leg. Vildor was even able to do that on one play where he didn't knock him down. He grabbed his leg, was being dragged like a toddler with his father, but at least he held on. It's just, I don't understand. I guess I don't understand because I'm not on the field, but you gotta gang tackle, wrap up and slow them down and wait for the rest of the game to get there. At least stick to the ball carrier, cling on to the ball carrier. But we're just bouncing off. Sometimes we're just throwing shoulders and I can't stand that form of tackling. So maybe this is also sort of a pass defense / tackling subject, but some players were wide open. And somehow Kyle Juszczyk gets a 23-yard pass in the open field because the pressure couldn't get home. Juszczyk is catching a 23-yard over the head, over the middle, huge pass. We can't cover the fullback? It's incredible. And then, obviously, we already talked about it. We need a name for this, by the way. I want a name for the play of the ball bouncing off of his face. Perhaps a face mask miracle. Let's make another miracle play out of it. There's got to be a good name for it. I'm reaching out to all of you to help me out. Come up with a good name for that play because it's so spectacular and it's so insane. There's got to be a name for it. And I hope it doesn't have the word miracle on it. I would call it dumb luck over a miracle. It's just unbelievable. I can't believe how that play went. But also included in the pass defense segment of our struggles. It's just Sutton and Vildor are not enough. It's not enough to have those guys be your number 1 and number 2 corner. Cam Sutton is missing tackles. He's getting juked out of his shoes, and he's too slow. He's simply too slow. And whether it's the injury that he suffered towards the late end of the regular season, or it's just I don't know what it is. So I'm not claiming to know the solution, but I'm on radio, so I could definitely tell you what the problem is. But he's too slow. He doesn't stay close to the receiver, and he misses tackles often. So it's not built. The roster is not there. I don't think Aaron Glenn could do any more with what he's got there. Especially when it comes to, we're sending secondary players into blitzing coverage or into pressure because the front four can't do it consistently on their own. It's just the way the cornerback room is. The run defense did pretty decently well. We held Christian McCaffrey to under 100 yards, but he also had another 40 in the receiving game. We held CMC to under 100 rushing yards. That's what we do as the Lions defense. We at least can stop the run somewhat. So this game obviously had its frustrations, and the game was obviously not the way we wanted it to end. But I do want to talk about some of the decisions made. Let's get to the decisions part of this game, and then we'll get to the other parts of the show. We'll talk about the AFC Championship game. We'll talk about Golden Grizzlies sports in the second half. But about the decision making of the game, I had no problem with how the game was called. Now, play call. In terms of going for it, kicking it, and whatnot. Play calling, different thing. But I would say the decision to kick the field goal in the first half when we were on the goal line, I respect the decision because it's not listen, we know Campbell goes for it on fourth down, and we know that we don't quite use the kicker as often as we should. I didn't see that play. I didn't see that decision to kick as not trusting the team or not trusting the offense. Now, obviously, it's 1 yard. You could see it be that way. But I would say that it was simply a matter of let's go up by 3 possessions, and then we have another 30 minutes of football to play. We can make another decision when we need to. But right now, let's take some points. Let's get a bigger lead, and we'll see what happens. And I could imagine part of the risk was, okay, if we miss this, then we're definitely going to get blown out in the third quarter and the game's over. At least what that field goal did was have the game tied at the third, or tied going into the fourth quarter. At least that was the case. So So I don't mind that decision to kick in the first half. Now in the fourth down, this gets back to that third quarter, that 4th and 2. You're on the 26-yard line of the Niners. It's just a drop pass. It wasn't the play call; it was the execution of it. I don't blame the coach for the execution of things. I blame that one's on the players. I believe that the coach, at least our coaching staff, will get the players ready to execute. I believe they know that they have to do that sometimes. I don't think that has to be coached to get them to execute. So that 4th down call, perfectly fine with it because it would have worked. It's what we do, It's what we do. And then when you get later into the game, it's our identity, man. Like to bring it more to let's get out of the specifics here. Let's bring it more to a general philosophy. The 4th down calls and the aggressiveness is what got you to the NFC Championship game. It is what won you the division. It is what got you back-to-back winning seasons. It is what got you your playoff wins. Don't back out of it now in the NFC Championship game. I absolutely respect that decision-making. And, yeah, sure. If you look at it by the results, yeah, we could have tied the game at 27. Yeah, we could have got ourselves in a better position. But listen, that's not how we got here. That's not who we are. And I would be more disappointed if we went for a kick, maybe even missed it, or even if we made it. I would be more disappointed in that Campbell went away from his identity as the 4th down madman, aggressive coach. I respect being consistent with who you are and not backing down because of some circumstances that look a little scary. Be who you are, MCDC, is what I tweeted at the end of the game last night. I respect being who you are. Because at least you could say it's worked all season long. And at least you could say that you were not scared to do it. You manned up. You did what you thought was right. I mean, listen, I respect the decision. So that's we're going to leave it at that. Now, to get to some other random points in the game, I wrote down a bunch of stuff that I at least wanted to make some bulletin points of. So, for those watching, I filled the page here. So during, now we're going to kind of go scatterbrain throughout the rest of the game, and then we'll get to halftime and move on to the rest of the show. We'll talk about the AFC side of things, and we'll talk about the Golden Grizzlies. But when Rodriguez got it, or got the interception, let's say, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson is called on a blindside block on Debo. Hell, I respect that too. I thought that was hilarious. And yes, obviously you don't want to cost your team 15 yards, but honestly, you talk all that smack. You finally get to meet in the biggest stage that you can, given you're in the same conference. I want to see a little bit of a result of all the trash talk between Gardner-Johnson and Debo back in October. So for Gardner-Johnson to get admittedly a cheap shot on him, I thought that was kind of funny and incidental or just whatever, because we already got the return. It didn't overturn the play. I thought it was just kind of funny. So I'll give Gardner-Johnson that one. But some other points is, how did Brock Purdy rush for 50? Another thing in this game that has just never happened. Since when does he rush for 50? I think technically he had 48. But, I would look down and I would see Purdy running, and I genuinely thought it was Christian McCaffrey, because why would Purdy be running it? But he did. What was his long run? He had a 21-yard run in this game. 5 carries, 48 yards. How does that happen? We were we have trouble with mobile quarterbacks. Justin Fields will get loose. Lamar Jackson would do his thing. Jalen Hurts, even last year, would do his mobile thing. Our defense has had trouble with mobile quarterbacks all season. But since when do we create mobile quarterbacks? When has that ever happened? So that bothered me a lot. And it's just, I didn't appreciate Kittle waving at the camera at the end of the game. That wasn't fun. Another point was Nick Bosa. He got a couple of sacks. And I did appreciate him not doing the shrug celebration just to kind of ease my pain. But it's just that game. Listen, let's zoom out here. We'll wrap it up. We'll land the plane here, and we'll go to break in a second. But we got a lot of time to talk about the offseason. We got a lot of time to talk about how the whole season went. We'll talk about that next week. And then we'll also obviously preview the Super Bowl. But this was a remarkable season. Just because the way it ended hurts and stings doesn't mean that this wasn't an amazing season. It doesn't mean we didn't have fun. It does not mean that we're never going to get this chance again. Sadly, some teams fall into that, but I would call you a liar if you think we will never get this shot again. With the defense that we carried into the NFC Championship game, you think if we improve that defense that we won't get back? I disagree. I think this was a remarkable season. I'm happy and content with the entirety of the season. Obviously, unhappy and upset about the specific game, but you got to zoom out and look at the entire season. This was an absolute success. An absolute win. The end. So, that is the first half of the GioMoShow. We talked about the Lions. We got it out of the way. When we come back from break, we'll talk about quickly the AFC Championship game, and then we'll get to the Golden Grizzlies of basketball and swim and dive. We'll be right back here on the GioMoShow, 88.3 FM, WXOU.